Previously on Stay in Your Lane.
And when we have a variance, then it becomes you're chasing it backwards, right? It's already happened, and you're getting it after the fact. We have the solution with us today, and it's a company called Tive.
There's all these key critical events that are part of the sort of traceability that FSMA is focused on, and transportation and distribution is the one we're us three here are focused on here today. And while it's not going to solve every single key critical event, when you think about FSMA and what it's trying to solve for, it's the digital record keeping so that swift action can be taken in the event of an issue or an outbreak or whatnot.
So here on Stay in Your Lane, we did a podcast series early in the year, February, finishing around the beginning of March, and we worked closely with the California Highway Patrol Task Force for Cargo Theft. And these two gentlemen were great, helped us immensely. So what was happening was, from a cargo theft perspective, they were impersonating someone else to get the order, given to them to pick it up. They were then hiring another carrier, representing themselves as a broker, hiring another carrier to pick up the shipment. Once loaded, they would then divert the driver where they wanted him to take the product, which was usually a warehouse, a third-party refrigerated or frozen warehouse, and he would deliver the load there. Unbeknownst to him, he was involved in cargo theft. The carrier had no idea that they were involved in it. So you can't go after them. The product would sit in the warehouse, and then the thieves would sell the product out of the warehouse. And then when, let's say, the police show up, because they know where the product is, they're looking for someone who's the smoking gun there, right? No. There's no smoking gun. The shipper goes to recover their product. They pay the warehouse fees, and they pay for whatever product they can recover, if there is any value to it. And the thieves are gone because they never actually were involved in it. So the old days of fire the lights up on the car and let's go catch them and cuff them, that's a different game. If you'd have had this on all of those shipments, you'd have known where the product was real time. You'd have seen it divert off a path, and you could take the correct actions to find your product or to catch, where the product was. At least you wouldn't lose the product. You may not catch the people that were doing the impersonating, but the high value food, they told us that meat loads were number one on the list. Heavy shipments. They were targeting heavyweight shipments that would be close to a gross because they thought that was going to be more valuable product. I have a client that was losing 3 to 4 weeks or loads a week, truckloads a week of product in California out of a warehouse. They moved the warehouse to Salt Lake City, Utah, and they still lose 3 to 4 loads a week.
Everywhere. I mean, there's certainly hot spots throughout the U.S., but most major shippers these days, even small ones, are dealing with some level of theft or tampering. And you were talking earlier about different sorts of systems for tracking. We have great partners. Forkites, Project 44, Samsara. There's amazing technologies out there to help with track and trace, and everything is really helping be part of the solution. But I think when we talk to our customers and prospective customers, what the tracking device allows you to have is ownership of the data. Staying with the pallet level, not needing to go to a third party. You're seeing the visibility right there, getting things in real time and not relying on something else to give you that data. So, it can be the saving grace in a lot of instances, and all sorts of shippers are turning to this for asset protection.
Well, I think if you're shipping refrigerated or frozen, and with the changes in food safety, Don from PLM, Don Durham, he said they should have not called it food safety, food modernization. Safety Act. It should have been Food Documentation Safety Act, right? Because that's the key change in what we're doing now as of January of 2026. Well, and we blink, we're going to be through New Year's and be in January of 2025. We've got 12 months for everyone to make sure their supply chain is ready for this and that you don't have a liability out there that you can't handle. Now, I'm a fan of Four Kites. It's a great product. And for the dollar you spend, it works well. If you're shipping frozen or refrigerated, and it's food product and you're going to have to adhere to the food safety guidelines moving forward in 12, 13 months, now I'm going to be short some items that I'm going to need because I can't change the network of carriers in the United States. And if you try to do it on a carrier level, you're going to go to a carrier. Well, this one has Samsara, this one has another program, this one has another. But I need the information real time to me, just in case I ever have to provide it within 24 to 40 or within 24 hours. So how do you get that? Well, now you're a shipper shipping food items in the United States. You have to get down to the pallet level. You have to get to the product in the trailer level monitoring and have the cloud database for 2 years. Is that what you're seeing, Raj? Am I saying something that's not correct?
No, you're right. And I mean, as I mentioned, people like Four Kites, they're partners of ours, and we see both solutions working in tangent together quite well. There's areas of someone's supply chain that, Four Kites might take care of majority of what they need, but if they do need temperature or condition tracking fed in from the pallet level, we do have those capabilities to feed it into those types of systems. And so using both is the most effective strategy. But when it comes to temperature monitoring and getting the data you need to drive actionable behaviors, a live tracking device at the pallet level is what we see to be the most effective. And this is why we see a lot of major shippers, taking the time to look at their lanes and say, hey, this retailer requires X, this retailer requires this. How can we work to help them believe that us using a real-time device can help us service them better because they see the value in it themselves.
Raj, I think you nailed it there. Now, Nathan, I'm going to share with you, because I asked you to be on here, I'm going to share with you what we have found, the success we have found with Tive's product. We had a shipper that was shipping product that we knew at times was warm, and we were fighting it the whole way in the trailer. And the unit would be set on continuous, and it would barely eke in under the temperature it needed to be received in most instances. The moment that a unit was set on start-stop, it would never meet the requirement at the delivery. So when you have a shipper that says, I need a shipment to go out of here today to this location, we don't always have the luxury of having tracking in the trailer real time. So we went ahead and this has probably been 8 to 10 months ago. We went ahead and started with some Tive units in the trailer. And we set the sensor monitoring notifications to notify us if the temperature varied from what the set point was more than a couple degrees either way. And then we get an email notification and can go look at that actual unit in the trailer and see what's going on. So just like a download will show the spread of high to low temps when it's on start-stop, depending on what parameters are set on the unit, of course, but if most of them are at factory setting, it'll show a swing up and down on the temperature graph. And when you're on continuous, you're more of a flat line all the way across. So it's that obvious, the difference. So we can notice that within 30, 45 minutes of leaving a shipper location and call the driver and say, hey, did you set that unit on start stop? And they'd say, no, it's on continuous. And say, well, you better check, because if not, we're going to send you back to the shipper. Go check the unit and confirm it. Because we don't even let them know. We don't even let the drivers know at that point in time that we have this ability. And they say, oh, it was on start stop from my last load. I didn't switch it over. I just set the box temp. Avoided a claim right there. There's a full load.
So, John, did you arrange that with the shipper themselves for them to put it on there?
We ordered units and had them shipped to the shipper location. And
Okay.
the nice thing is, I see this going full circle, because most of the time they're putting a recorder in the trailer. It doesn't matter if it's a Rhine recorder, the old Rhine recorder, or a later model unit. If we don't have the ability of seeing it, the little yellow box with the red light on it, that light does you no good when it's riding down the road in the back of a trailer in the dark, right? What's that tell you? It tells you when you get to the receiver that it was on, but we had the shipper and put these on the product on the tail of the truck. Just pull back the cellophane stretch wrap and put it in up against the product, and we get to see what's going on the trailer temp and the product temp, both. And it also helps us from a food safety perspective. We can tell if a trailer's back doors have been opened and a seal's been broken, or if no seal was installed and we don't have any light change. There's a light sensor on the units that we're using that'll tell if the doors have been opened. We get a notification, and we set up our notifications internally to notify us of these changing in events, and then we can log right into the Tive system and see exactly what's going on. Just like a recorder or a download going down the road, we can see that at every moment, real time. So the other benefit is when you have a rejection, you normally know why you have it, because you had the data ahead of time. You know whether it was loaded too warm. You know whether it's on start, stop, or continuous. You know where it is, not where a driver was that loaded it, who may have relayed and swung off of that load and now be on another load. So we're not tracking at the driver level, we're tracking to the product pallet level. And we have everything in front so that we can stay ahead of it. So if you leave a shipper and a half hour later you say, hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here, and you look at the temp and it's climbing because it was loaded warm, and you know your unit's working properly, you can go right immediately back to that shipper. We're not losing time when we get to a receiver and backing into a door and waiting 3 hours and wondering what they're doing with the product for them to come out and reject or refuse us because of temp.
I think the other thing there is also, I mean, we try to preach that the data should be used in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's going, Nathan, in your instance, if it's going Wisconsin to Florida and we see it crossing through Oklahoma at 45 degrees, like you're getting that alert, text message, email, push to TMS, wherever you need it, so that the load coordinator is hopefully calling that driver and taking an action in real time. Like, of course, there's a benefit in not having to wait on the receiver to give you information, but if we can prevent a load from showing up with a claim or rejection, that's the best outcome, because then we're feeding into sustainability goals by reducing losses and, increasing profits, all those sorts of things that every single company is focused on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we find that like 2% of all perishable loads have some sort of arrival issue, whether the truck's late, has a temp issue, rejection or claim, something of that sort. Our goal is to help our customers reduce that by half or more. Of course, there's still going to be some because you can't control everything, but those are the results we're typically seeing with our food customers.
Continue watching on the next episode of the Stay in Your Lane podcast.